Yo, what is up, guys? Your boy Main here with the FOMC update. So, getting a little bit of a pullback here in the markets. I apologize, I haven't live streamed in a while. It's been busy, and live streaming just takes a lot out of me and a lot of time. It's an hour, hour and a half, plus prep time and stuff like that. It's just kind of draining, whereas I can just turn the camera on, rip up a quick market update, a little bit easier to do. So we're seeing a bit of a pullback here. I'm not like super fucking concerned, to be honest with you. Let's start with kind of FOMC discussion. So we've got the rate cut, right? But the speech from Powell was relatively hawkish. So not what you wanted to hear necessarily if you were purely just, a bull and this thing's just going to continue to go straight up with no pullback. Because he's cautioning against, potential future cuts, shit like that, whatever, fuck them. So what we want to focus on, right? What we want to focus on is the price, right? I think looking at what he's saying and trying to dissect it and stuff, sure, short-term fluctuation, sure. There's going to be some people who think that this is some sort of macro change for the market. I don't really think so. I know he also mentioned like, oh, the Fed can't hold any, Bitcoin and we're not going to change the law. Like, I don't know. I'm not putting too much stock into it. Yes, we dumped. Yes, we saw a big pullback in stocks, right? But I'm still of the mindset that we are going to trade higher. It's just a matter of where do we kind of pull back to first before we get that continuation. You got to remember, we consolidated here for 7 months, okay? And then we had our first big massive breakout, and we've really only had one down week, and it barely ended in a down week since then. So for us to kind of go sideways here, even for a little bit, to pull back a little bit further before going up, it's not crazy at all. I think a lot of the dooming that you're seeing online, a lot of the people complaining and bitching and moaning, these are people who are generally going to be over leveraged and they're trading on the lower time frames, right? Like on all the high time frames, we are still so unbelievably bullish. Now, I don't think for a second we come back here. I don't. But just purely from a market structure perspective, we could come anywhere back here and still trade higher with this being a higher low. Remember, when we were in this consolidation here, what did I talk about? I said, in theory, this can pull back very deep within this price leg and still be a higher low. And that's all we're looking for. The higher low on the weekly, it ended up pulling back just to here, didn't come back to here or even down too deep to here, right? So same thing here. This has a lot of this has a lot of room. It can come down and still look bullish on the high time frame. Now, I don't think it comes back down anywhere remotely near there. So what I'm looking at really right now, I'm watching this kind of daily 3-day area here that we're tagging right now. I think there's a very good chance that the higher low forms within this gray box. Could it come lower? Potentially. But we've got a 3-day order block there, and then we've got the weekly order block here as well, which is just slightly lower, right? But I think this is where the higher low forms, somewhere in this kind of, 98 to 102K area. Could we go down to 95,000? Sure. Anything is possible. Right? Like anything's possible. We can dip deeper than I think people are expecting. Everyone's accustomed to buying the dip at this point. Sure. But I still think that this ends higher going into January, going into the new year. You can ascribe a whole bunch of reasons as to why this dump is happening. Oh, well, people are selling to close their books and, square up before year end, things like that, tax harvesting. There's all sorts of stuff you could try to ascribe to it. I would much rather just look at the chart, say, where's the trade, right? So I think this is going to be a dip that we want to buy. Question is where do you buy it? When you're trading with leverage, you have to be, unless you're scaling in like very small size and then building a trade, you have to be a whole lot more accurate before you ape in. If you're just going to buy $1 million on leverage, right now, and we drop another 10%, are you prepared to be down 100 grand in UP&L, right? So if you're buying with leverage, things like that, a little bit more tricky, a little bit more sticky, but I'm pretty confident that the low forms somewhere between, kind of where we are now and like down to here. And yes, that's a big box. It's a big range that can form in. But really what I'm looking for is clues for bullishness. I'm looking for signs that price is going to be bullish. I want to see some buying occur. I want to see maybe a run below some lows, right? Maybe we get a run below some lows and then a bounce, something. I don't know. I mean, worst case scenario, maybe we come back and we, wipe out 95K, which is kind of where that last dump bottomed. That would be like worst case scenario for me. Obviously, worst case scenario is we're fucked, but I just don't think that that's the case. So I'm looking for reasons to be bullish. I'm looking for reasons to bid. I've been saying this the entire way. These types of dips, right? Everyone wants the dip because they're like, oh, price is only going up. I'm never going to get an entry. And then you get that 10, 15% dip and then you don't enter, right? So the reason that happens is generally, one, no one ever takes profits on the way up. And then they have no dry powder or they're too scared to bid when the actual dips happen. So I'm of the mindset that we're looking for where this dip's going to end. I don't know if the bottom is in yet, but I do think it's relatively close, like maybe within another 5% downside on Bitcoin max. I would be very surprised if Bitcoin traded back to 90. Could it? Sure. But I'm a little bit more bullish than that. I think we're probably going to see, I hope at least, that the monthly low is in. Like I'm of the belief that the monthly low is in. If we traded below 90, that would mean the monthly low is not in, right? So here's the monthly open. There's the low of the month. So if we went below there, then maybe the monthly low wasn't in and I'm wrong. But I'm going to operate on the assumption that this is the monthly low and we still end the month, as a green candle. So we'll have to wait and see. The move just happened. You don't need to jump into this right now. Maybe you nibble some. I don't know what you're trying to do, but I'm still not too concerned by any means. I know there's going to be some doomers out there, and maybe they're going to be right. Maybe there's a regime change that we're seeing. Maybe there's a regime change that we're seeing, and that's now going to get priced in, and we're going to see a bigger correction because we haven't really had a crazy correction yet. Like, theoretically 20, 30% kind of corrections are possible. I just don't know if this is it yet. I would believe that we get another push up before maybe getting one of those major dumps, but maybe I'm wrong. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm watching. I'm looking for the bulls to step in. We've lost our spot premium, right? So generally when the bottom forms, like we've seen, down here, the spot premium kicks in. That's the bottom. So maybe that's something to look at, but I don't know. Let's watch this low. Got demand here. We're within this larger order block. So let's see if we get some action. And let's kind of go from there. But yeah, Ethereum looking weaker, right? Inched above 4K. And again, as soon as that happened, the entire market gets cancer. I don't really see ETH trading much time below here. So could it come down here? Yes, but again, this would be something I'd be looking to buy. I'm still of the belief that ETH is going to all-time high sooner than later. So if I get a chance to buy this high time frame demand here, right, I'm targeting boom and I'm targeting boom. So again, pullbacks, opportunities to bid, in my opinion, not opportunities to lose your mind and freak out that it's over. Again, the weekly I still think looks totally fine. And if we get any sort of retest of this weekly order block, I think you long this thing and you target all-time high. Like this seems like such a no-brainer trade to me. And that's like a 3R with a fucking stop at 3K. Right? So be watching that as well on ETH. Solana has been weak lately, but you've got to zoom out. Again, a lot of the people who are saying Solana's dead, it's toast, Hyperliquid stole its lunch. Like we just broke out and made a higher high on the weekly, right? We just made a higher high on the weekly. And we put in a fair value gap here on the weekly as well after forming that massive breakout. Sorry, this is the monthly that we made a higher high. So some kind of pullback, even on the monthly time frame, totally expected. We're seeing that now. We've got this nice weekly fair value gap here. We've got relatively equal lows here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Solana put in a higher low, right? Remember, yes, these are pullbacks. Yes, they're scary. They're scary, especially if your entries suck and you're over levered. But if you've been in spot and you've been in entries from lower and you've got dry powder, the framing of everything changes. These are now opportunities as opposed to reasons to be freaking out. So I still think high time frame Solana, we're looking for a higher low, and this looks completely fine. And Solana is going to $300 plus in the relatively near future. So I don't think there's too much to worry about. Obviously, if you've got some shitty entries, it can be a little bit scary. I know altcoins especially are getting shellacked. We're seeing a big bounce here on Bitcoin dominance, but ideally what we want to see, if alts are going to continue to rally, right, is we want to see this become a lower high here, right? So wherever this move up goes, I want to see this be a lower high. That would be a sign that we're going to see that continued altcoin strength, and we don't need to worry, but this is why alts are eating shit especially hard on this dump. Like you look at Pepe, we're back below 2, right? We're back below 2. Doge is back at 0.35, but just like this is only October, guys. Went up 350% in October. Now we're down 25%, right? This went up 280 cents since October. Now we're down 30%. So depending on the time frame you're looking at, where your entries are, how you're positioned, your framing on everything that's happening changes, right? Definitely scary if you longed within the last 3 days with high leverage and your liquidation is close. Absolutely, you should probably be scared. But if you longed at any point over the last 7 months when we were longing and you're in spot, you have nothing to worry about, in my opinion. In fact, we should be excited because we are getting a correction. We're seeing a steep discount on alts. This is opportunity. This is where the money is made when you finally get these types of corrections. So I know it's a little bit scary right now. I know alts look really bad right now, but I do think that there's a good chance that if the bottom isn't already in, it's relatively close within the next 5 to 10% on Bitcoin. Yes, that likely means some alts eat even more shit, but when that bottom forms, you want to be prepared to step into the market, altcoins, Bitcoin, and otherwise, because I believe the next bounce and the next rally sends us to new highs on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and hopefully takes the majority of our stuff with it. So I know there's a little bit of doom and a little bit of gloom, but hopefully you're still well up from, any point in the last 2 months, and it's okay, right? Like your equity curve is not going to be this. It's going to be this, right? And you just need to make sure you survive these, right? And these pullbacks that should be higher lows in your equity curve, what you want to avoid, right, is one of these that just fucking kills you. You don't want those, right? You want higher lows consistently. You're not going to maximize and save every single dollar. You're going to give some back on the pullbacks, and that's okay. You want to make more on the way up so that you can handle the drawdowns on the pullback. So that's all I got, guys, here. Quick update. We'll be back with something else soon. I love you all. Talk to you later. Peace out.